All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're looking at a company that's right at the heart of India's massive tech ambitions, Netweb Technologies. Think of them as the ones building the actual engines, the powerful hardware that's going to fuel the country's entire AI future. So, let's get into it.
It really all boils down to one huge question. In a world pretty much run by a handful of tech giants, how does a nation like India carve out its own space? How does it build its own AI and really control its own technological destiny?
And the answer? Well, it's actually surprisingly direct. It's not just about the fancy software or the complex algorithms. No. It starts with the hardware. It starts with building the machines, the actual physical machines that make everything else possible. And that idea plugs right into this massive global trend called sovereign AI. Basically, it's this race where countries are realizing, hey, we need to build and control our own AI stuff. To keep our data safe, to make sure our economy is secure, and to innovate the way we want to. And look, India isn't just talking the talk. They are putting some serious money where their mouth is. We're talking over 103 billion rupees for something called the India AI Mission. That kind of massive investment, it tells you everything. It's a huge national priority to build an entire AI ecosystem right from the ground up. Okay, so if the country has this huge ambition, who's actually on the ground building the engines for this race? Well, this is exactly where Netweb Technologies comes into the picture. They're one of the country's leading original equipment manufacturers, or OEMs, in this space. Netweb's specialty is something called high-end computing solutions, or HCS. Now, forget your laptop or your desktop. This is a whole other league. Think of HCS as the rocket engine for the digital world. These are massive, incredibly powerful systems built for the absolute toughest jobs out there, like complex scientific research, national defense, and, yep, training those enormous AI models. And they've absolutely got the receipts to back this up. Let's just run through some quick numbers. First up, they've installed over 60 supercomputing systems all across India. Next, they've rolled out more than 7,000 AI systems, and these are packed with GPUs, those special chips that are basically the lifeblood of modern AI. And to top it all off, and this shows it's not just about quantity, their supercomputers have made it onto the world's top 500 list a whopping 15 times. So yeah, we're not talking about just a local company here. They're playing in the big leagues, on the global stage. Okay, so with a track record like that, you're probably wondering, what exactly are they building? Well, their work really stands on three main pillars: supercomputers, AI systems, and private cloud infrastructure. It's a pretty clear three-part focus. First, building the supercomputers. Second, powering artificial intelligence. And third, creating private clouds. So, pillar number one, supercomputers. Again, these are not off-the-shelf machines. They're custom-built for super-specific, incredibly complex jobs. We're talking about the kinds of systems used by organizations like ISRO for missions that are, well, literally out of this world. Pillar two is all about AI systems. You can think of these as the real workhorses for training today's huge language models and all sorts of other AI stuff. But the key thing here, Netweb designs and manufactures these right in India, often partnering with the big names like NVIDIA to make sure they're using the latest and greatest GPU tech. And pillar three, the private cloud. The easiest way to think about this is, instead of renting a spot on a public cloud, Netweb helps a company or a government agency build its own secure, powerful corner of the internet. They do it using what's called hyper-converged infrastructure, which is just a way of neatly bundling all the computing, storage, and networking into one manageable system. Now, what's really fascinating is how all of this ties directly into a much bigger national strategy. Netweb isn't just another tech company. You really have to see them as a strategic asset for India's goal of becoming technologically self-reliant. I mean, they're basically a poster child for the Make in India initiative. And get this, they're one of only a handful of companies that have qualified for the government's Production Linked Incentive, or PLI scheme. That's a huge deal designed to boost exactly this kind of domestic high-tech manufacturing. And you can see their journey so clearly in these milestones. It starts back in 2013, deploying a major supercomputer. Jump to 2021, they get that crucial PLI qualification. Then in 2023, boom, they launched Aerowatt, India's fastest supercomputer.
And it just keeps going, with a massive order to build the AI infrastructure for India's very own foundational language model. You can see the pattern, right? They're getting bigger, more capable, and more important every step of the way.
And if you look at who they're working for, it's pretty much a perfect 50-50 split between the government and private companies. And that balance is so critical. It proves they're trusted enough to handle sensitive national projects while also being competitive enough to serve the private sector. So let's zoom out and pull all these pieces together. When you look at the big picture, the global push for AI, the national strategy, and the technology itself, Netweb's role becomes, well, it becomes crystal clear. At the end of the day, here's the key takeaway. Netweb isn't just selling computers. They are a fundamental building block, a key architect in India's strategy for technological independence. They are building the sovereign infrastructure that will power the nation's digital economy for years and years to come.
Which leaves us with one final thought. The global race for AI is only getting faster. As nations and companies push the boundaries of what's possible, the question isn't just what will be built, but who will build the engines that drive that future. And for India, it seems like a big part of that answer is going to be companies just like Netweb.